Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to ParaGhoul Paranormal Discoveries from the Dark, the radio show where we dive into the shadows of Saskatchewan and sometimes across Canada to see what lies within. I'm your host, KD Kulpa, and I'm a horror author and paranormal researcher based here in Regina, actually. So joining us today is Josh from You Say Whoa on TikTok. Last week, Josh had been on the show and he told us a little bit about what piqued his interest into the paranormal, and he was starting to tell us about some of his experiences with paranormal investigations. Today, I'm hoping we can dive into more of those investigations and, get ready to hear some ghost stories, perhaps. All right, Josh, thank you so much for coming back. I know last week you had alluded to some other investigations that you have been involved with kind of in the past few years. So I'm hoping we can hear more about some of your personal ghost experiences today. But first, before we get into that, I thought I'd ask you a question just to kind of hear what your opinion is. And that is, do you have a favorite paranormal investigation team or a favorite paranormal show that you would recommend to our listeners?
To me, one of my favorite paranormal investigation shows, because I think they have a good balance of like, there is some of the spooky factor that plays into it. They have a good balance with humor. And then you have one host who is a true believer and the other host who does not believe in anything. And it's BuzzFeed Unsolved, which has
Okay.
gone on to become Ghost Files now, I think is what they call it. And so you have Ryan, who is the guy who believes everything or believes in all things ghostly and paranormal. And then you have Shane, who, I mean, he's out there and he's challenging spirits and legend, whether it's like demons or whatever. Like he's out there calling them out, and some people might say they're being disrespectful. Uh, and there have certainly been times it's like, well, that's probably uncalled for. You don't need to take that approach, but it still is. To me, it's entertaining because you do get that balance of you have somebody who is terrified because of what might happen and they don't want to step into a room, and then you have the other guy who's like, oh, I'll go in there and do it, no problem, and I'll call out whatever spirit's in there because nothing's going to happen, and
Yeah,
nothing has happened. And so it's like, I don't know, why is that, right?
that's
If
true.
so I don't know, there's just so many variables that play into the world of paranormal that I also just listened to a podcast where they talked about Ed and Lorraine Warren, who a lot of people view as like the godfather or the godparents of paranormal, at
Yeah,
least commercialized paranormal stuff.
yeah.
And that was an interesting listen as well, because I've certainly heard of folks talking about the Warrens and how a lot of their work has kind of been debunked, and they maybe shouldn't get the credit that they do. But uh, the hosts of this podcast all really do believe that, at least very early on, they probably did absolutely believe that they were helping people rid themselves of, I guess in Ed Warren's case, it was demons, and Lorraine using her psychic abilities to help spirits as well. Um, but there seems to be a point in time where they did transition more into wanting to make money versus helping people. But kind of got the sense that they still did believe in a lot of this stuff, but they also appreciated the money that came with the fame and the notoriety, I guess, of being paranormal experts.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, and I think that's what I'm finding even on this podcast too, is you dig into some of these even urban legends or claimed experiences, and you kind of go, well, but if you look at it from this perspective though, that's not a thing. It's because well, and a lot of, especially urban legends, a lot of them come from indigenous stories, and you're kind of like, but that doesn't necessarily mean there is a person that did all of those things. It was a story, it was a warning, it
Mm-hmm.
was a teaching.
Yes,
And but Western civilization spins it to this weird paranormal experience.
yes, you're absolutely right. And Yeah, I can't even imagine how many times over, the course of mankind that has actually happened. I'm sure, uh, you know, probably more times than we can count,
Well, more than
without
likely,
a doubt. Yeah.
yeah.
It, I also find it interesting too when, people, uh, are like, sometimes just how aggressive they are when it comes to like pushing, something on you. And it's like, to me, I'm a big believer in like letting people, you can go into a location and know stories about it, but I would much rather like let you have your own experience and kind of draw your own conclusions on a situation,
Yeah.
as opposed to like you coming and be like, this is what happens and you have to believe it, and if you're not going to believe it, then whatever. But it's like, you know what, go in and have your own experience, because maybe you'll have an experience that nobody else has had, right?
It's true. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just, and I don't know that happens a whole lot, at least in the world of like simple, paranormal and ghostly activities, but maybe more so where there's um, some strong religious beliefs, I guess,
Mm,
associated with it, which certainly is in itself a sensitive topic,
oh,
and
definitely. Yeah.
could, I can certainly see how that would impact a person's approach to certain situations as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. It's just an interesting topic. Like, because it is unknown. You don't know. You can't prove what's real and what's not.
Hmm.
You can debunk all you can. Like I've seen ghosts and I know I've seen them, but at the same time, I never have a camera when, of course, that happens.
Yeah,
Or a recording device of any sort to kind of go,
yeah,
oh, well.
I know. I really, yeah, it's funny too because, like I said, I've never seen anything, and I like to think that I would probably like be able to react in a way that I would remain relatively calm, in that environment or in that situation. But I honestly don't know how I would react. I know the times where I have heard stuff, like the one story that often comes to mind about hearing things. Um, I was doing an investigation in this old farmhouse, and it was like a hot summer day. Um, this old farmhouse had like, solid wooden doors and stuff like that. And we had gone up into the attic when we first got there, because we would go through the building from top to bottom just to see what was in the building, look for things that could maybe cause strange sounds. And it was just kind of an opportunity to familiarize with the space.
Right.
And so we'd gone into the attic, and we had to use the skeleton key to open the attic door to get up into the attic. And at the end of our little kind of walkabout, there was nothing of concern that, we couldn't find signs of rodents that maybe could be, you know, contaminate audio evidence or whatever.
Right.
And so we had just closed the attic door, but we didn't lock it again. We just, in case anybody wanted to venture up there for an investigation. But because it was so hot and humid, the doors were all swollen and wouldn't fit, properly.
Oh, yeah.
And so you basically had to like take your fist and pound in the top corner of the door to get it to close. And so fast forward to later in the night when we're out there doing the investigation, there was me and one other investigator. And there were three of us in our group originally, but one of the members of our team had to leave because she had to go back to the city because she had to work in the morning. So we were down to two of us. Other teams are kind of scattered about the property doing other things. So we decide we'll go back into the house because we knew nobody else was in there. So we go into the house, and we are walking through every room in the house, and we get upstairs to the second floor, and I think there's three bedrooms and a bathroom, and then the door to get to the attic. And so go up to the top of the stairs. We go to the right, and we go through the first bedroom. We come out. We go through the second bedroom. There's like an open area. in the hallway, cross the open area, go to the third bedroom. We didn't go into the bathroom. And then we went in, I guess there must have been 4 bedrooms. So we went into the 4th bedroom and we were about to sit on the floor, and there were like children's toys scattered about and everything. And the investigator that I was with had sat on the floor, and I was about to sit beside her. And she says, "If there's anybody here with us, can you move these toys across the floor?" Now, that's a question that we had asked, well, maybe not specifically about toys, but we've asked, if there's anybody here with us, can you do something countless
Yeah.
times? Not a lot ever happens, it seems, when that question is asked.
Yeah.
But in that moment, the toys didn't move, but we did hear like this. In the moment, it sounded like a screeching, scraping sound, and it scared the crap out of me. Like, I shot up like a rocket. I don't even think I made it to sitting on the floor. And my partner, she says, "Oh, I think somebody came in the house." And I don't know how she stayed so calm, but
Oh,
she is like level headed. And so you hear me, and it's like, "Hello." And like you could hear the fear in my voice,
yeah.
"Hello." And nobody's responding. And so we had walkie talkies. So we radioed the other teams to see if anybody had entered the house, and nobody's responding. And so now I'm thinking, like, great. We just had this spooky experience. I'm stuck in this house with who knows what, and nobody's responding to me. And it felt like an eternity between the time that I first tried to radio and then I radioed again. And finally, somebody did respond and say, "No, like nobody entered the house. You guys are still the only people in there." And like I said, it felt like a very long time, but like listening back to the audio recording, it probably was 30 seconds between the time that we heard the sound, we radioed the other teams, and then we came out of the room. And when we came out of the room, the only thing that was out of place was the attic door. And the attic door was wide open. And we know it was closed because when it was open, it blocked the bedroom door for the first bedroom that we had gone through. And
Oh,
so we had walked in and out of all of the rooms on that second floor. And I don't know, like, did something kick the door open and run out? I have no clue. The real kicker about this whole thing, though, is that we had a stationary camera in that hallway.
yeah,
The problem was it was facing the opposite direction of the door.
of course.
And so if we had the door, or sorry, the camera facing towards that door, we probably would have caught some pretty cool evidence.
Yeah.
Um, like, and you know what? I honestly don't know that it was a living creature that had busted the door open, because we did not come across any other animals in the house with us or anything of that nature. We didn't hear like footsteps running down the stairs or
Yeah.
anything, right? It was just that door. And so I do believe something forced that door open. Um, where that something went, I don't know. What that something was, I don't know. Um, the cool thing though is, like, we wanted to see if we could get that to happen again. So
Mhm.
when we went outside and we kind of regrouped with everybody and we let them know what we had experienced, we listened to our audio, we did all of this stuff, and then the lead investigator, he was the one who's like, "Okay, we got to try and see if we can recreate this. Like, how do we make this happen again?" And so him and I go back into the house together, and we're just kind of hanging out in that hallway, and we're waiting for things to happen. And he's talking to whomever or whatever might be in the space, and he's just saying, "Hey, could you do this again? Like, we really just want to capture this." And he's like, "We heard that you opened a door earlier. Could you do it again?" And like, I hear a click, and I was like that. And then we noticed that the front door, because it was right at the bottom of the stairs, the front
Yeah.
door popped open,
Oh,
and we caught that on video. And so I don't have the video anymore, unfortunately, but somewhere out there, I'm assuming the lead investigator would still have it, but I might be wrong. I haven't talked with him in a number of years, unfortunately. But uh, we caught that on video. And so it's a door, like a front door. There's a glass pane in the door. The infrared camera is focused on the door, and you do see the door pop open. And because of the reflection coming off of the infrared light, you
Hmm.
can see the light shift in the door as well as it pops open.
Oh,
And so, was it another spirit or another entity? Maybe. Is it possible we just didn't latch the door properly when we came inside and it popped open? That's also plausible. We did go down there once that door opened, and we did close it, and we were jumping on the floor and on the space to try and see, like, does shifting weight do all of these things? Like, what can we do to try and get that door to pop open again?
yeah.
We weren't successful in that, so it seems the door did latch effectively, and maybe we just didn't push it closed tightly when we came back in. But maybe another spirit opened that door as well. I don't know. So those are my experiences, and that first one terrified me. Um, like I was very leery about going back in, and I know like how much that scared me, and that was just hearing something.
Yeah.
So how would I react if I were to see something? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I find hearing something is worse though. I feel like that's scarier because especially when you don't see what caused the noise. Whereas the times I've seen a ghost, typically I don't realize I'm looking at a ghost. It's just you see the shadow of somebody and you think, oh, someone's standing there. So then you go over there to talk to them, but then there's no one there and you're kind of like, okay, I imagine someone standing here.
That that makes a lot of sense. I could see
Yes.
that as well. I suppose. So the ghosts that you've seen, do they
Yeah.
very much just look like a
They just
human
look like,
figure?
yeah, usually they look like just shadow figures of people, but they look like people.
Hmm.
And so like one of them um looked around a corner of a door and I thought it was my husband. I just thought he looked around the corner of the door and was looking for me and it was dark. So I got up to go talk to him and here he was asleep in the bedroom. So it wasn't him. And there was no one else in the house. So like that's when I've seen them, that's what happens is I think, oh, so and so's here, oh, it's my husband, and I go to talk to them and nobody there. Like you don't see features, but you just assume, well, it's because they're in the dark and that's why I don't see
Yeah.
their features, but you don't think about it. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Makes me wonder now, have I seen a ghost and maybe just assumed it was an actual person? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I guess part of it too is like maybe this just shows like the commercialization of paranormal, but when we talk about ghosts, I think of like the white misty figure or,
Oh yeah.
that type of thing. So
Yes.
maybe I would be scared if I saw that, but if it was just like you said, looks like, a person where you can't quite distinguish the features, maybe I would be okay with that.
Yeah, that's typically, yeah, when I've talked to people that have seen them, it's what we talk about. It's like you see something, but you just think, oh, that's a person. So
Hmm.
then you go like I know my husband has seen some in our house because ghosts like me. Uh, and he thought that he saw a woman's hand like disappear into our bedroom from the hallway. And so he'd walked up there thinking, like, well, who's in our house? And the room was empty. So it's, yeah, typically when we've seen them, it's you just think it's a person and you're like, hello, what are you doing here? And you
Yeah.
go to an empty room. So I mean it's weird after the fact and you get kind of
Mhm.
creeped out. But yeah, I find when I see them, it's not scary in the moment. Whereas if I see like something move that shouldn't be moving, or if I hear a sound that I don't know what caused it, I find that scarier in the moment, where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that. Because the times that I've heard things too, like I remember there was another time where we were in this building and there were three of us again. We were sitting there, and it was one of those situations where we had been trying to get a reaction or a response and nothing was happening. And then we'd started to talk amongst ourselves. And all of a sudden we could hear clear as day. It sounded like people talk about hearing footsteps all the time, but like this was a very distinct sound of like footsteps going up the stairs,
Oh, yeah.
and these were like steel grating stairs, so like steel grate plates, and so it was a very distinct like ding ding ding,
Yeah.
and so listening back to the audio on that again, you could hear us talking, and then I think it was me. I was like, "Do you hear that?" And everybody got quiet, and then the other one of the women who was with me, she's like, "Yes, I do hear that." And I was like, "It sounds like somebody is walking up the stairs." And she said, "It does sound like somebody's walking up the stairs." And then the other guy who was with us, like he heard this, and his reaction was like, "I'm going after it." So he like took off running to see if he could figure out what it was. And
Yeah.
he went running out of the space past the staircase where we had heard the footsteps, because as he got closer to it, he thought he heard footsteps running out of the area that we were
Oh,
in.
no way. Okay.
And so didn't capture anything like visual, but we
Yeah.
all heard these footsteps. And so when he came back, we went to the staircase that was nearby to see like could we hear it, or like recreate it rather. And so as we're doing different things, and we're like one of the distinct sounds, like we could hear the railing rattling too.
Oh, okay.
And so we found that if you stood at the top of the staircase, and if you just kind of shifted your feet back and forth, that caused enough movement to cause the railing to shake. And so
Oh,
the thought there is that maybe something went up the stairs and was just standing up there, so we
yeah.
could hear the railing shaking. And then because we did hear as like we heard the stairs or the steps on the stairs twice, and so the thought was that maybe when the guy started to chase after it, it came down the stairs and kind of ran out of the room or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. But so yeah, there's the unknown there, because it really did feel like something was there with us, and we could hear it, but not being able to see it. You know, is
Yeah.
yeah, because you don't know what it is or who it is, right? So,
Yeah.
and then the other weird thing too is that we've picked up. I wasn't in the area when this happened, but there was in another group. There was a person who was with two investigators, and so it was like a coworker who had gone out with these people, and so it was kind of her first time in this whole situation. And they're going through this area, and it was like there was a route that you were supposed to take through the area, but they were going through backwards.
Okay.
And this person, this person said it was weird because like she felt like something was trying to get away from them, and she just like she didn't know why she had that feeling, but it was like something was moving away from them as they would get closer. And so uh just hearing her experience was very interesting, because fast forward to when we get the evidence and we're reviewing it, you can hear the people as they travel from the exit going
Yeah.
backwards. You can hear them off in the distance. You can hear them slowly getting closer. You can hear their footsteps shuffling on the concrete floor. You can hear them talking to each other. And then as they clearly enter the area where the audio recorder is, you hear a voice whisper, "Get back. They're looking at you."
Oh, no way.
And
Oh, I got chills.
yes. And so, like, knowing that this person had the experience that something was trying to hide or get away from them, and then you hear like something whispering, maybe to somebody else, they're looking at you, like,
Oh,
super cool experience. And
yeah. Well, I guess we should wrap up here. The time has just flown by.
it really has.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there
Dynamic.
anything else you want to share before we wrap up or?
You know what? I think just if you are interested in Saskatchewan ghost stories, I do encourage you to check out my TikTok. There is a playlist there of scary Saskatchewan stuff. It is kind of old now. Maybe we can revisit some of those stories at some point in the future. But yes, please do check out my TikTok at you say whoa, and yeah, feel free to get in touch with me if you have any ghost stories that you want to share, because I'm always ready to hear a good ghost story.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Mhm.
Or if the listeners have any ideas of some fun live event we could do come Halloween,
Yes, that would
let
be
us
fun.
know too.
Actually, you know what is really cool too is I know in Swift Current or south of Swift Current, there's the haunted village of Lille sur Mer. I think it's a
Yeah.
French, and I can't pronounce French properly, but it is like a haunted village that they put together, and they raise money for charities in the Swift Current area.
Oh, that's cool too.
Um, and that would be a cool thing that I've thought about doing as well. So, yeah, I would be curious to hear about, any Halloween events coming up too, because haunted houses, ghost tours, ghost walks, all those types of things. That's what keeps me interested in the world of paranormal,
Oh,
even if
definitely.
I'm becoming skeptical in my old age.
I think it's good to have a skeptic, though.
I
Got to
think
have
so
someone.
too. I think so too. And you know what? Like I said, I'm not completely closed off to the idea of having an experience, but yeah, I would welcome it actually. So we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. You're always welcome to come back if you start something new.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget, if you'd like to support the show, you can find me on most social media platforms under KD Kulpa. I also have a Patreon for those that want behind the scenes information, extra content, and a chance to join me live each month. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes where we'll uncover more secrets, unravel more mysteries, and delve deeper into the shadows. Until then, remember to keep your flashlight handy and digital recorders ready. This is KD Kulpa signing off. Until next time, my ghouls.